Good morning, everybody. Today is August 13th, 2020, and today we're talking staffing sales strategy. And I have a special guest on our show today. I'm going to bring her in. Her name is Kathleen, and I'm looking forward to talking with Kathleen about different sales strategies within staffing industry. But overall, with everything going on in the industry and economy, things are changing so fast. And so I'm looking forward to having a conversation about different trends that Kathleen is seeing. So let me hold on and bring her in. All right. Good morning, Kathleen Lynch. How are you today?
I'm fine. Thank you, Matt. Good morning to you and to all that are on today.
Well, thank you for joining our show. First, if you could just give the audience an introduction and kind of who you are and what do you do?
Awesome. Well, I'm a mom of two boys and a staffing professional. I've been in the staffing industry for the better part of the last 30 years. Started my career in Canada and worked in Canada for about the first 20 years, 2 decades of my career, and then relocated to Denver, Colorado with my husband and started working at a very small staffing company so I could learn U.S. employment law. And then,
what year was that when you moved?
That was 2007.
Okay.
When we moved,
13 years. Okay.
Yeah. And then stayed at home with my boys for a little bit while we integrated them into new schools. And then went back to work, learned U.S. Employment law, and then in 2014 opened up Talent Match, which is a direct hire and contract staffing company where I staff positions across the United States and in North America, in Canada as well. Still do a little bit in Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal, where I'm from, and quite a bit in the West Coast, specifically in the oil and energy sectors.
Okay. What was the biggest change you noticed when you came from Canada for 20 years to the U.S.? And I know there's a different time in the market, but what was the biggest change you noticed when the initial change happened?
Well, two things. It was really interesting learning U.S. employment law because in Canada, I owned 2 staffing companies in Canada. And then I managed some very, very large organizations that had, 1,500 contractors out, primarily professional services daily. So I had these big numbers specifically on the contract end. Yep. And employment law in Canada, we didn't really drug test people.
That's a different beast.
it was a different beast. So when I got to the U.S. and I started understanding, how business was transacted here and what the legal requirements were and contract requirements, I was astounded with the backgrounds that were being done and the drug testing, and quite frankly, how many people popped. And I thought, oh my God, I was sending out all those people.
Nope. Yeah, I can't do it. Yeah. So the burden, you thought that the upfront burden is a little bit more challenging in the U.S. market compared to Canada in terms of the expectations of the employees you're putting out there?
Very much so. So I found that was really different. And I also just found that the model, there was in the United States, what I noticed that this was a much bigger market, of course, but much bigger acceptance in terms of utilizing contingent workforce, contract suppliers, direct hire, much more knowledgeable purchaser that I was dealing with than what I was dealing with in Canada. So that was good and bad at the same time.
Yeah. I think one of the challenges I've noticed in the U.S. is that every state also has their own individual requirements as well. Is that the same with the different regions in Canada?
Yes, but not quite as different as you would find from state to state, because we've got a federal government in Canada that oversees with a slight change in provincial. But here, these states in the United States, the states are quite autonomous, right? So it's much more work to become educated going state to state than province to province.
So over the last 13 years, what have you seen in terms of the improvements or decreases in the staffing industry overall? What are the changes you've seen over the last 13 years? And then we'll jump right into kind of the last 6 months, because I think that's really where a lot of your experience of 30 plus years in the industry can really give us some good advice in terms of where to go next.
Yeah. So I think that in the last 13 years, really lots of collaboration that I'm seeing between suppliers, and always have,
Absolutely.
like, you see that on really big national contracts, right? Where you're
Yep.
one of 5 or 6 who are supporting a large company. But it's interesting that as the years have gone by, and specifically in the last year and the last 6 months since COVID, seeing a lot of collaboration on smaller accounts, and that's incredible because it helps everyone. We are bigger than just ourselves, and in order to be successful in this market, we really need to use every single potential relationship that we have
Yep.
in order to mutually succeed.
Yeah, I always say staffing is the people business. It doesn't matter what company you work for. People want to work with skilled people, whether it's a relationship-based business. And what you just said is really highlights that, in that the customers want to work with people, and the people need to figure out how to find the candidates. And so they're just optimizing their resources, right? You're optimizing your time, and you're optimizing how you can find the best quality candidates by utilizing the best recruiters out there, or recruitment firms.
Yeah, and what I really think is quite fascinating. Years ago in Canada, years and years ago, we actually built a very large contracting house, and our model was we would put the customer in the middle, and then we would surround the customer with all of the different service lines so that the customer didn't need to go anywhere else.
There you go. One-stop shop.
Right? What I'm noticing here in this market as, a small supplier, is that we're still mutually putting the customer in the middle. And those partnerships, those relationships, those service offerings that maybe 2 or 3 years ago we never thought we would have needed, or that relationship wouldn't necessarily count quite as much. We're all working together to put that customer in the middle in order to satisfy the customer, satisfy the applicant, and drive the business model.
So what does that look like in real time? And when you say put the customer in the middle, I mean, in theory, I understand where you're coming from, but how do you allow the business development team, the recruitment team, how does that work to keep the customer in the middle, especially in the times like this where customers might not need to hire much, but when they do, they need it now.
Right. So it's a lot of communication. It's a lot of it's a lot of planning and thoughtful planning. Our business is, as you said, a people business, but it's one that's based upon integrity and value and knowledge and honesty. And being able to develop those relationships and have those relationships managed, with a high degree of integrity by the sales team, forward thinking, trying to understand and plan out, as we're coming, specifically with COVID, as we're coming out of this thing, what this new normal that we talk about looks like, and how does that impact workforce, and then being able to take that information and then feed it back to the recruitment teams, and where we have gaps, because small to medium-sized companies can't do it all, and if we attempt to do it all, we do it poorly, and we lose the customer, we lose the relationship. So then trying to think outside of just the me, the talent, in this case, the talent match model, and saying, okay, who do I know in my network who really can do this better than me? But by being the door opener and participating in that handoff or partnership or split or sharing, will elevate the customer relationship, and being very candid with the customer and, upfront, and saying, here's our reality. This is how we can help. Okay. We're not the best individual or team to handle this particular project for you, and this is how we think we should mutually solve this problem. So we're still driving the relationship, but we're driving it from a partner standpoint as opposed to a supplier standpoint. And as soon as we can do that, then we all win.
That's amazing. I can't believe you just said that. That's a perfect. So you bring them in as a subcontractor, but you're still in control of the relationship. Yeah. And you really are honest with the customer, saying, listen, I specialize in A, B, and C. You're asking for Z. Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know what the definition of that job is, but I know the people who can find the job. And that's pretty powerful. That really embodies the idea that you can be great at the business development side, the relationship side, or you can be great at the recruiting side and still service the customer.
Right, because none of us can be great, very few of us, right? I'm certainly not me, can be great at everything. And so if you can just be that, it sounds crazy, but that beacon, to be
Yeah.
able to provide, because everyone's going through a turbulent time right
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
and everyone is just looking for the very best
Mm-hmm.
solution to whatever challenge they have. So just really
Yep.
assisting, just really,
Yeah.
and being able to utilize, companies like yours in order to help with the back end,
Sure. Yeah.
maybe marketing firms in order to help penetrate a market and provide knowledge that you don't have at your fingertips. So just really being very collaborative, using associations, industry associations, in order to gain knowledge and relationships and some sort of guidance in terms of where the market's going, because we're
Yeah.
all sort of swimming upstream right now.
Yep. All right. I know I have only a few more minutes with you, Kathleen. I want to do a couple rapid fire questions to say yes or no, or if you can answer these quickly. One,
Okay.
do you feel like you need to lower your pricing because of the market right now?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
Number two, are you increasing your guarantees on direct hire, or are you utilizing temp to perm more often now?
I'm not utilizing temp to perm at all. I
Okay.
haven't I haven't found that I've needed to utilize it yet, and I
Uh-huh.
may actually have to get there. In
Okay.
terms of my guarantees remain the same
Okay.
depending upon skill set, but my pricing model might look a little bit different, and the
Okay.
amount of work that I have to do in order to fill that requirement is
Higher.
significantly higher.
Yeah. Yeah. And number three, do you think one of the benefits of using contract work now or direct hire is to manage the large number of of applicants applying to the jobs? Is that something that you've been seeing in your customers in concern of, well, before there was no candidates, now there's 100 or 200
Right.
candidates per application. Is that where you see a value is for the next 6 months or a year?
I think as we move into this new economy, the contracting model is a critical piece of the business. Previously, I did very little of that.
Hmm.
In the last 6 years, it was mostly
Hmm.
direct hire, and my model is completely
Yep.
changing to be, a 50-50 split, and it's
Yep.
because of the uncertainty. So
Yep.
yes, contracting is huge. I just haven't had to do the temp to perm model yet, and I think
Hmm.
that's because the amount of full-time positions that are being staffed are significantly reduced. So
Yeah.
my customers will bring in a contractor or talk about bringing in a contractor, as opposed to, this is a permanent position, we're designating it a perm,
Right.
and we're going to go temp to perm. So that uncertainty is very real. So it's either one or the other. I'm not
Yep.
seeing that sort of
Interesting. Yeah.
gentle movement from one to the other. It's black or it's white.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. The long-term contracts with no buyout is kind of where
Yes,
they're positioning it, in terms of, you can have this as long as you want if you keep the contractor for 6 months or a year,
yes,
and you want to bring them on at that time. There'll be no conversion fee. And so the temp to perm model has morphed even the last 3 months, where instead of it to being a specific, you have to bring them on, or 90 days, 120 days. Now it's, listen, put them on your projects, let them do their work. Let's
yes,
see where the economy goes in six
yes.
months or a year. And if you have the budget, if you have the room and you want to bring them on and they're a good fit, then you won't have a buyout fee after 12 months
Mhm.
or 6 months.
24.
All right, Kathleen, was there anything else that you'd like to say, or, and I want to respect your time, and so anything else you'd like to end with?
No, just really appreciation for your time and Shane's time, and providing, my firm with an opportunity to be able to meet that customer need. I really do appreciate it. And I wish you well. Enjoy
Uh,
Wisconsin.
All right, sounds good, Kathleen. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, bye. All right. Shane, Kathleen is just amazing. That was some great
Absolutely.
stories to hear about the transition from Canada to the US, but more importantly, somebody who really understands staffing and recruiting, talking about the industry. So that was a great call.
Yeah, absolutely. She's great. She's had great experience, high volume recruiting, and she's
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
successful pushing through these tough times, especially.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Shane, what else have you been seeing in the front of the authorized dealer, market, in terms of what are the problems our authorized dealers are having, and what can we help them with?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of problems are still on the actual client side, mostly not
Hmm.
wanting to hire on yet. They're still afraid to bring people on and have
Yeah.
them brought on directly. So they're
Yeah.
focusing on the payroll. But
Yeah, and maybe what Kathleen, the tidbit that Kathleen mentioned right at the end was, you know, maybe not talking about the permanent side, or maybe even not even talking about temp to perm, just do long-term contractor with a $0 buyout clause at the end of 12 months or 24 months, even she
yeah,
was saying. Maybe removing that idea of you eventually have to bring them on, and starting with, listen, fill your projects. And if you continue to need that person, continue to use them. But, if the economy changes, you can always stop at any time. Maybe that could help with that end user customer confidence, because I'm sure as the months go on, I mean, we're halfway through August already. Projects like that need to be accomplished over the year are not getting done at the same speed they're supposed to get done at. And so we'll see, I think, in quarter 3 and quarter 4 there's going to be a crunch where projects need to get done. We need, businesses will need to catch up from the year in terms of back end developing, overview of policies and procedures, just different admin stuff as well. And so I think what we're going to see is, these long-term contractors are going to be a good solution for them.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm already starting to see it on projects. Tracers are something that's big right now. We have another project starting up for that. That's, like you mentioned, no end date on that. It's just continual contract.
Mhm.
As well as we're starting to see people who submitted customers, early Q2 when they were put on hold after they had the opportunity. They're like, hey, they're ready to go now. So
Yeah.
it's good to see that, people are starting to hire on and projects are starting to pick up, which is always a great
Yeah.
sign.
Yeah. Yeah. I know we're seeing a bunch of new starts this week, so we'll see. Hopefully, our authorized dealers. I think we're going to be reaching 300 authorized dealers probably by the end of September. And so, as the authorized dealer network grows, that's that innate opportunity to work with each other throughout our network. And so we just have to, open up the idea that some customers are going to be jumping on it right now. Some customers are going to wait, but I believe all end user customers are eventually going to start using contract work over the next, 30, 60 days.
Yeah, absolutely. At the rate the sales team's going, we might hit 400 here soon.
400 by the end of the year. Yeah, we're expanding. So, all right, Shane, anything else on your side before we close out the show?
No, appreciate the time.
All right, sounds good. I'll let you go and I'll close it up. So, all right. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. This has been a staffing sales strategy update. And we had the great fortune of having Kathleen Lynch and in her insight into the economy, both in, past 20 years, past 13 years, but also in her transition from Canada to the US, really added a lot of value, not only to my knowledge, but I believe to everybody out there. So if you have any questions on contract staffing, on getting started, Shane is always available by phone, text, call him in the middle of the night. He's always going to answer. And if he doesn't, let me know because I'll jump on him. So, but please feel free to reach out to us if you'd like to learn anything more about our authorized dealer network, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.